Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our final session of today's Training Industry Leader Talk, Engage Learners with AI-powered content, sponsored by Adobe, CGS Immersive, CommLab India, InfoPro Learning, and Schoox. So I'm Liz Spate, the Events Marketing Specialist here at Training Industry, and I'm thrilled to have you with us here today. So before we get started, as always, I would like to quickly go over a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speaker and get the most out of today's session. So throughout today's event, please feel free to use that chat window for any comments and submit those questions to the Q&A panel. All questions will be addressed at the end of the program, but do not hesitate to drop those questions in throughout. We would appreciate your interaction. At the end of your time here with us, you will notice a short evaluation survey has popped open in another tab in your browser, and we'd appreciate your thoughts on today's event. And all of our sessions are being recorded and archived on trainingindustry.com, and you'll receive a follow-up email from us with the link to the on-demand for those sessions. If this is your first Training Industry event, we would love to welcome you. We exist to make connections among learning and development professionals, and we offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D, like live events like today's Leader Talk, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, podcasts, and membership. We would also love to hear about what you've learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us on your favorite platform so we can continue the conversation. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our last speaker of the day. Lefteris is the founder and CEO of Schoox, a groundbreaking learning and talent development platform. With a PhD in diffraction optics and an MBA, Lefteris has a unique blend of technical expertise and business acumen. He is passionate about transforming how organizations approach learning and development and creating solutions designed with the learner in mind. And with that, Lefteris, take it away.
Thank you, Liz, and thanks everyone for your time. It's great to be here, especially for those who have gone through all those 5 sessions. Okay, can you all see my screen, please? Okay, super. Well, yes, I'm Lefteris, a founder and CEO of Schoox. We have a few words about us. We are a global leader in frontline workforce learning and skills development. Schoox was founded back in 2012. We serve now more than 3,000 customers across different industries, among which are some of the most iconic brands in those industries. And more than 20 million learners worldwide. We are customer fanatic, and so we enjoy very high customer satisfaction and retention rates. Our system, our platform is accessed, through more than 135 countries. From the very beginning, our vision was driven always from the belief that learning serves the purpose of developing people, and the development of people serves the purpose of business success and growth. And so this is something we always had in mind while we were building the platform. It was always easier said than done to connect learning with development and business impact. We've been working on this approach for many years now. And of course, when AI reached a certain level of maturity, for us, that unlocked a whole new potential to really execute on that bold vision. And this is what we are going to talk about. So before we start the presentation, the first poll question, what are the big challenges your organization is currently facing with its training programs? We'll have about a minute to go through that question. Is it really engaging learners? Is the problem, and the challenge personalizing at scale, large number of employees? Is it, the pace with which you can create high quality courses for all employees, for all jobs, and especially personalized? Is it, how to really be able to measure the return of investment? What's the impact of any L&D initiative? Is it scaling training or anything else? Just add it to the chat. We're really curious to see what the outcome will be. I know that all of those could potentially be a challenge and are a challenge for most organizations.
I'll give everybody about 10 more seconds.
Nice. Okay. Engaging learners and measuring the return of investment. So great, things we're going to talk about today anyway. Perfect. Now, let's start with a few facts. Fact number one is that despite the fact that billions are invested in learning and development, the reality is that less than 10% of business leaders really believe that L&D can make a business impact, which is quite disappointing in reality, because it means that if business leaders don't believe that L&D can make a positive impact on the business, they're not going to make, you know, the needed investments, even though L&D can definitely make a big impact and can have a big impact on the organization. But why is it the case? The reality is that no matter what the new trends are, and no matter the whole conversation out there about upskilling and reskilling, the fact is that most organizations still focus on completions rather than really driving business results and being able to prove tangible business outcomes. And as a result of this, only 12% of employees apply new skills to the job. So what does it really mean? It means that employees are not really getting the most out of the training, which is a problem. And so, on the other hand, what is really the cost of poor L&D? And of course, this is a very big conversation. There's so many industries, there's so many factors. And of course, we cannot go through all of those factors today. But just looking at one specific industry for two reasons. First, because we know the industry very well, the quick service restaurant industry. And second, because maybe most people believe that the outcome may not be that important, you know, having a great L&D strategy in organizations like those, but you will see how important it can be. Just sharing a few numbers with you. According to your study, you know that that industry is suffering a very high turnover rate, close to 150%. And those organizations scale quickly up to hundreds of thousands of people. So a quick service restaurant with 100,000 people, which means that they have 150,000 people that leave and have to be replaced. With an average cost that is coming close to $6,000 per employee, that scales up to almost 900 million kind of the cost just for those replacements. And of course, not all of that is because of poor L&D. People leave for many, many reasons, but there are many studies out there that can justify the assumption that all the way to a very conservative number of 10% or up to 20% of that number is because of poor L&D, because people don't believe that they have really career opportunities within those organizations. And therefore, that scales up to a number of around $150 million just because of that, because of poor L&D. And then, of course, there are other factors that scale that number significantly up. For example, 10%, there are studies that can justify a 10% decrease in productivity because of poor L&D, lower upselling rates, for example, high waste, lower customer satisfaction, that all can have an impact on revenue and productivity, which an average revenue per employee in that industry is about $60,000, which means that if you scale it up, you have a significant number that crosses $500 million of impact because of poor L&D that impacts productivity. And if we do a similar math exercise because of the lower customer satisfaction for less poorly trained people, then they all can sum up to almost $1 billion of cost, you know, because of a poor L&D. Okay, now we definitely all realize and we all believe here that L&D is very, very important, and poor L&D can have a really big negative impact in an organization. Why is it that difficult to have a successful L&D? The fact is that it is connecting learning with development and business impact. This is a very challenging endeavor, and it needs a step-by-step transformation through the whole organization, a very, very different approach that, of course, can be supported by AI, as we will see today, as you can see here in that hierarchy, like the Maslow's hierarchy. And today we will cover those four first steps, from understanding job skill requirements all the way on understanding really what courses do we really need to create to address business priorities or weaknesses of our employees, but in a very different approach. And what I mean with this is always through the lens of the business impact, which makes the whole exercise very, very different. Now we have a second question. How does your organization currently ensure training aligns with employee skill gaps? Are you doing regular employee assessments? I know that that skill gap analysis, which is very, very important, because if we really want to have personalized training and not only job-related training, then we really need to understand for all the required jobs for someone's job, what is the proficiency level for each one of those skills. Otherwise, if we don't take into account the proficiency level for all required skills, then we don't really have personalized training. John and Jake, who may both be cashiers at the quick service restaurant, they would get the same training. For cashiers, man, but they would get the same training and not training that would address the specific weaknesses or help them bridge any gap they have. And so this is a very, very important exercise in the whole conversation about personalized training. No formal alignment process was expected and manager feedback. Yeah, totally aligned. Okay, and expected. Thank you. Okay, so, sorry. Step number one, understanding job skill requirements. This is a very big conversation out in the market. And of course, in almost all cases, this conversation limits the whole exercise towards what skills do I have to map, what skills are required for a job? And then on the other side, what skills really needed for, what skills can specific content I have serve, improve? And if we have those mappings correct, then we can do the mapping and can offer relevant training to people. But this is, as you will see, this is much more complicated than this if you want to go that learning, development, and business impact route. Because for us, the approach to understand job skill requirements is focusing on three key objectives. Definitely first, to identify relevant skills and how important those skills are for a given job. Not all skills are equally important for a job, so this is important, definitely. But then we need two more pieces of information which are extremely important. The first one is, how should we look at those skills from different perspectives? I mean, how should we combine those skills in any training initiative? What skills benefit by being learned together, for example? What skills are used combined in daily tasks and should be trained accordingly? So it's not just finding the skills, it's also how should I think on training people around those skills in groups. And then finally, and the most importantly, is what is the business impact of each one of those skills? And I would like to demonstrate you this through a kind of a hypothetical scenario, but this is real data. And so let's say we have a cashier on a quick service restaurant, and let's say that we have agreed after AI has made some suggestions and we went through iterations, so those are the skills that are required for a cashier. And of course, this is a mix of job-specific skills and general soft skills that are transferable skills. For example, POS operation, basic math, customer service, upselling and cross-selling, very important. Menu knowledge, those are all job-specific skills. And then we have conflict resolution, communication, stress management, for example, which are transferable general soft skills needed though for cashier as well. So this is step number one, we identified. And this is usually where the whole exercise really stops. But we believe that we have to go a step further, and this is just one of those. And for example, AI can help us group those skills together from many perspectives. And one of those is the learning synergies and the relationships. For example, those are three clusters of those skills depending on the scope of the skills. For example, the first group, POS operation, basic math skills, customer service, upselling and cross-selling, and loss prevention awareness. Those are transaction and efficiency centers because, as you can see down on the justification, and I apologize for a lot of text, but these skills support efficient transaction and boost sales, ensure accuracy, customer service enhances the experience, upselling drives revenue, etc. And if we go to the last group, for example, communication, teamwork, and adaptability, then the group of those skills, those are people-focused skills that foster a productive work environment, communication and conflict resolution, improve interactions, etc., etc. And so this is one grouping. We'll see also some more indulgent groupings further down. So this is step number two. And then step number three is a more complicated exercise because if we really want to have impact-driven L&D, we definitely have to understand what is what are all those different business areas that each one of those skills can impact. So I just took upselling and cross-selling as an example, and I will just share 3 impact areas. Those are primary impact areas that AI can return. Secondary areas, for example, revenue per order. It's one of those. Effective upselling can indeed increase average ticket size by 0.6 to $1, resulting in over $150 in daily incremental revenue per location. So we started becoming more numerical and realized what the real impact can be, and do even the exercise. We will see scaling all the way up and what it means if done successfully. Or promotion effectiveness, because trained upselling improves promo item uptake by 25%, maximizing return of investment on limited time offers. And so all of those impact areas are significant. And so the overall business significance of that skill is high, because upscaling is a key lever for increasing revenue in high volume quick service restaurant environments. And this is information that AI can really provide. And this is just a sample. Now, of course, I don't want to make this too noisy in terms of numbers and text, but let us just go a little bit, one more step further on one of those impact areas, like revenue per order, and even numerize it. And so, for example, AI can share what is a baseline metric on a revenue per order on a quick service restaurant, might be $7.5. There are studies out there that have proven that the right training on upselling can lift that baseline metric anywhere between 5 and 20%. And so that may end up on lifting the baseline metric and the revenue per order all the way from 7.5 up to $9. And so if you're doing the math per order for $1 on average improvement that can be achieved by correct training, and this is one metric of one impact area of one skill. The reality is that for the cashier, for the job of a cashier, the system returns almost 50 impact areas grouped in different categories: revenue and growth, customer satisfaction, waste reduction, and shrinkage, and many others. And so collectively, that job can have a huge impact, in the business. Okay, so let's say we have successfully found what are the most important skills for a job. We found and learned how we should group those together from a training perspective. We have identified and discovered what part of the business they can impact, from revenue growth all the way to waste reduction and risk mitigation, for example. So then what is the next step? The next step is related to the second poll question we had. Okay, now we have to understand for our cashiers, what is the skill gap? In which of those skills are they really, what is the proficiency level, for example? And so some of those skills might be more important, that may have a different business criticality, some may less. And so we need to go through a skill gap analysis, which is a very difficult task, honestly. Yes, most are doing it either not at all, or they may do it through manager feedback, which is very difficult to expect by a manager to really assess in a very professional way a cashier in any job on all of those skills, because it has to be very granular. And of course, we don't want to have any skill gap assessments and analyses that are very time consuming, exhausting, expensive, because we want quick assessments that are done fairly quickly and can be rolled out periodically to see how things are going after we train people and check in every quarter or whatever. And so for us, it is creating specific micro assessments that we will see, which are really very fast and very concise. And also then using the output and the results of this to impact on what training has to be created and delivered. Okay, so here's an interesting approach as well. When we talk about skill gap analysis, AI can help in a significant way as well, because now it can take each one of those clusters that usually are combined together and can create a micro assessment around those skills by creating, let's say, 100 micro questions. And those questions are kind of allocated across those 4 proficiency levels. And before it creates the real micro assessment, what it does is for each skill, like here, customer service, it creates for each proficiency level the proficiency indicators. What are the proficiency indicators? As you can see, just scan through that kind of a lot of text, scan through it, and those are actually indicators around which the system is going to create questions to find out how a cashier can perform around those. For example, at a very basic foundational level, it would check how well cashiers can greet customers politely and stay calm in a service environment, all the way down to, for example, if a cashier can plan ways to reduce wait times during peak hours without lowering service quality with questions. And so once it does this and creates the proficiency indicators, then as a next step, it's going to create really the micro questions in terms of micro cards that can be rolled out fairly easily by Joe automatically. Employees can kind of take those on their mobile device. This is also the whole idea of micro. And then those are just some sample questions for around customer service from a foundational level all the way to more advanced. I will just give you a few seconds if you want to just look at each or some of those. For example, the first one is definitely an easy one, but now as you go, it becomes a little bit more challenging. In the system, of course, you can ask to have as complex and difficult and challenging questions where all the answers could be potentially right, depending on the conditions and the circumstances. You can also use wrong answers based on typical errors that cashiers make under those circumstances. Okay, now having rolled this out, we can get easily the results and can have a picture about the proficiency level on each one of those skills, all of our cashiers. So we have now that skill gap analysis, and we know also all the skills and all the information. Now the next step would be, okay, what I'm going to do now with that information. Now the next step would be to really create courses and content to really train accordingly all the cashiers to drive the desired results. And so we need to understand what courses do I really need to create. And we do this, again, AI can support in this based on three main goals. Identify the training courses that need that so that employees can close the skill gaps, but this is not what this is about. Don't forget, it's impact driven now. And also prioritize courses, what courses should be created, which order, based on skill importance, business criticality, rolling career growth, proficiency levels, all of that information. And also being able to measure the business impact and return of investment using industry and brand benchmarks. And this is what we're going to see. What it does, it goes back. This is now information that we had as part of the first step, as you know. So it takes a look at that information again. How did it cluster those skills now? It goes a step further, as I promised you, to show you also some other relationships from different perspectives. Let's say what skills are used together in daily job tasks. POS operation, customer service, loss prevention awareness, those are usually tied together. Conflict resolution with problem solving, communication, they go together as well in daily tasks. So it uses and leverages that information and that kind of grouping as well as the different types of relationship between different skills. For example, upselling and cross-selling and customer service are complementary, have a complementary relationship type, whereas time management and multitasking is a prerequisite one to the other. At the same time, before it starts suggesting what courses you should create with a lot of details, as you will see, it also lets you know, based on everything it knows about all the impact areas, about everything we just gathered, about that job, about those required skills, what KPIs are those impact areas are really feeding and impacting. It's order processing time, customer satisfaction, upselling rate, transaction accuracy. It finds out brand-specific priorities, drive-through efficiency, customer loyalty and repeat business, minimizing wait times and operational consistency across the different locations. And it shares also industry benchmarks. Average service time, 3 minutes, order accuracy rate, 98%, etc. Okay, this is another interesting information. It will take into account all the business impact areas for each skill, as we showed at the beginning. Now the new info that comes in is, because the skill gap analysis, it knows also the proficiency level. So this on average across all the cashiers, which you can even do for John, or you can do it for all the cashiers in a certain region, certain, franchisee, a country, whatever. And this is 65%. So it's a developing stage. It will create accordingly the content. And then gathering all of the information, and I know that might be a lot of data and numbers, but it's important for me to share how complex it is, but how easy AI can make it, because now it knows all the information it needs. It knows the criticality, it knows the business impact, it knows the proficiency level. It can ask you, okay, you want me to focus on the courses I'm going to suggest only on low proficiency? Is this your priority? On the most critical skills, specific business impact priorities, customer satisfaction improvement, revenue growth improvement, or whatever? Or should I create a balanced kind of plan to address all of those challenges? And then, of course, based on whatever you choose, it makes an allocation and says, okay, around that group, I will create 11 courses, because we have 4 out of those 5 groups being critical and having a low proficiency. And this is how it thinks. And we asked for 20 courses, for example, which is usually a nice balanced way that has a rational time to competency, a nice return of investment and productivity improvement. Whereas if you go all the way to 35, 40 courses, it would be a full plan that can lead to a much longer time to competency, but even up to 15% productivity improvement. And then that's the final outcome. It will create a list of 20, 30, 40 courses, whatever you ask for, with all of that information, what the title should be, what the description should be, why it helps, all the business impact areas of that course because of the relevant skills. It uses now the combination of skills based on everything we talked at the beginning, what skills should be tied together in a course, in a learning path. And then it goes even further. If you want to create a learning path out of this for new cashiers, this is how you should think about this. This should be phase A, will take 2 weeks. This is phase B, 3 weeks, and those are the courses that should be aligned. So it creates for you the whole plan. And then it comes with a full prediction of a business impact analysis. And it says with those 20 courses, you can really achieve up to 10.82% improvement on average on productivity across those different impact areas. It may take up to 15 weeks. The estimated return of investment is 220%, etc. And it just comes and shares everything, all the impact areas that are kind of impacted by in which courses, key recommendations, evidence, how well each impact area is covered, etc. And now we know what we have, a list of courses we should create with all the metadata. And now what? We can't really go out and find a content provider and buy that stuff. We have to create ourselves. And this is, again, much easier said than done. How do you build those really courses with qualitative content across so many different topics for all of those jobs? This is where AI now comes into the game as well. This is your full list. You just click a button, or you should click a button, and it creates all of those courses into real micro courses of 100 cards, for example. And the way it does this is it creates first a full plan for every course. This is how I'm going to build the course. Those are the different phases. Those are the different themes. I'm going to start with foundational stuff. I'm going to go all the way up to more mastery, kind of advanced topics. And I will cover those themes. And this is the structure. Those are the expected outcomes. This is what a real plan. This is just a snapshot, a small part of a real plan and what it looks like. For example, for the course upselling and cross-selling strategies for cashiers, it would be the theme, foundational phase, card 1 to 30, basic concepts and definitions. Learning objectives would be understand the concept of upselling and cross-selling in quick service restaurants and recognize the benefits of upselling for both the company and the customer. It introduces, subtopics, key concepts, expected outcomes. employees can define what upselling and cross-selling is, and employees can recognize upselling and cross-selling opportunities in real interactions. That would be kind of the first 10 cards, and it even shows you and says it's a mix of upselling and cross-selling and product knowledge that I will cover, in those 10 cards. And this is how it creates the whole plan. And then this is just a snippet. This is real. Real cards. And this is step 8, step 12, 40, and 54. Out of those 100, small micro questions are in between. And this is, for example, I will give you again kind of a few seconds, a minute to just look at of course, the brand and the product items have been faked, but this is real content now. And this is how you can really train a cashier. This is 1 out of 20 courses or 1 out of 35, 40 courses where you really don't have to do anything. AI will do everything of course you can. This is just the foundation. It's a head start. You can come in, you can edit, you can change it, but this is a very nice first kind of foundation of a course. Why micro courses? There's a big difference, definitely, because go back again. Look, this is very concise content. It's just a few cards on a mobile device that a cashier, a frontline worker, for example, but for many other jobs as well. It's very easy to be consumed. It stays very clear. There's no noise. It can be combined with images, with small videos as well. But believe me, if text is concise, it can make a big difference. And so it's bite-sized, up to 500 characters per card. It can be really consumed completely with many iterations within an hour at most, 1.5 hours. Minimal context switching within sessions, 10, 15 minutes a day. In reality, you can go through the whole course in less than 10 minutes. But the fact is that if you really want to put also some effort in order to understand the concept, then it may take about an hour for a long course of 100 cards. It takes about 30 seconds per card. And so you can do the math on how quickly someone can go through it. And microlearning typically requires 40 to 60% less time. It improves retention by up to 30%. And it has much higher completion rates. People complete those courses much higher. And skills from microlearning can be applied immediately after each short session. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know what questions have come in. I need all of the above option. What AI tools do you utilize to build those? Yes, we actually use different LLM models. We use ChatGPT, we use Anthropic. We have integrations with different LLM models and leverage those in different ways. They all work similar. Yes, people are very happy with microlearning. Microlearning in reality is, I think it's not just a new trend. It is the result out of the high pace of our modern life, I would say, in every job. We don't have time really anymore to really spend a lot of time in. Nobody is reading a whole book on how to code in Java or PHP. If you look at how developers are, for example, acquiring new knowledge, they go and find exactly the snippet they need and apply it. And this is how most of the professions are work nowadays. And so it's very important to deliver the most important knowledge information they need and just leave out a lot of noise. It's a massive amount of time everybody saves, and the results are much more different and much more efficient. Are the skill proficiency based upon some sort of an industry standard or customized based on organization? It is by organization. How do you validate that the skills are actually relevant, attainable for the role? First of all, the skills, the AI is coming and suggesting some skills for a job. You can reject all of those, some of those, and as you reject, AI will deliver new ones until you are happy with those. And of course, you can always complement with your own skills. It's just a tool to help you expedite the whole process. It provides a whole rationale. I couldn't go into that depth, but for each single skill, it suggests for the cashier, it uses a whole lot of context. So in our system, it's not just provide 15 skills for a cashier. You may provide the company name and the industry, and it will really understand the whole context and will take into consideration everything that's public. It may go out and find even job, let's say, offers that are out there, and look at qualifications that are required for the job. So it will return remarkable kind of results and will explain the rationale and why that skill is important and why it is so important. You know, it comes with an important score and a rationale as well, but you don't have to accept it. And when it comes to the proficiency levels, for the proficiency levels, those are four. This is a kind of a very common skill gap analysis framework, but you can definitely change this. I mean, this is just foundational, operational, advanced, and proficient and advanced. These are just 4 levels of proficiency. And then the proficiency indicators are around the questions it's going to build. It's sort of preparing the ground and letting you know how it's thinking about the questions it's going to build. You can come in though and edit all of those questions. You can change those, you can remove those, you can add your own. It's giving you kind of a head start. How does Schoox AI ensure sound instructional design principles in its course development? Where do the skills in the Schoox system come from? Can they be aligned with skills we have in the other HR systems? Okay, I will address the first 2 ones. First of all, you can bring in any skills you want. I mean, we have a way to deal with any diverse skill set because we are the platform, all of us, the learning platforms. I mean, that where all the skills are coming in and everybody wants to leverage that information. So we have to deal with diverse skill sets. So a customer may come and say, I have an integration with Lightcast, I have an integration with Visa, I have an integration with ChatGPT, I have whatever. I manually added those. In the older days, IBM what's framework. And so we don't really care where those skills are coming from, because once you bring those in, we easily can help you map skills also with content you have, or you may have a partnership with a content provider that has already mapped skills with the content, and now you bring both content and jobs with different skill sets mapped in our system. It's totally fine. We can deal with this because we use, alongside with AI, semantic and contextual interpretation of those skills and can do the mapping. So we don't really need to use skills that you can get out of our system. It's just that in case you don't have any skills in your HR system and you would like to map skills with your jobs in our system, you can use our functionality, but you can bring in skills from any integration. We don't have a problem, and we can deal in a very elegant way with diverse skill sets. With respect to instructional design principles, this is how we draft the prompts. This is all about prompt engineering. Those prompts that we use in order, for example, to create a course around a topic, this is not a simple prompt. This is a whole package of a very well-structured prompt with a lot of quality validations, with a lot of scenario-based requirements before it creates the actual content. So it's fairly complex. We are experimenting with this for quite some time now in order to get it to a level where we really feel good about it. Really, I mean, it creates very nice content. And again, however, that content doesn't have to be used as it is. It is as if you would like to create a course around upselling and cross-selling, and you just provide a few metadata and you click the button and the system returns 100 cards. It's up to you. You can just you can go through it, you can review it, you can, for every card, again, ask AI to rephrase it, shorten it. You can even change the conversation, you can change the tone, whether it's professional, conversational. You can send a lot of context and ask for many different kind of requirements. And so from that perspective, we have done a lot of work to ensure the best possible quality. How does Schoox AI ensure content aligns with the brand's proprietary information or voice? So two ways. The one is, if you want to use AI to create content, courses out of your raw material, let's say you have a ton of PDF files in PowerPoints, then we will have a rack solution for you through Bedrock, which means you will have your own instance where you can, where that content will be shared, and then we just dictate AI where to look to create those courses. So for the course that I showed you, AI went out and found whatever is public about that brand, everything that's public, everything it knows. And you will be surprised how much it knows. What is public information? And it creates a course. As an alternative, I mean, you can ask AI to create a course out of your own material, and then it just limits on where it looks like. Okay, so it doesn't look anywhere else, it just looks at your proprietary content. So with the tool, there is no need for a separate skill taxonomy. No, forget about any skill taxonomy, we don't need anything. I can assure you, we suffered with that, we struggled with that for too long. We tried to go the path of, I'm not against it. I mean, everybody can use their own solution. We can deal with anything. You just bring in your skills. We're fine with everything. This is the beauty of our system. But the truth is that we started initially, with the same approach. It's just that it didn't work on our side. I mean, we didn't get qualitative results, and just let it go. And especially because we really wanted to align with diverse skill sets, and it never worked as it should, at least on our side. And so we went a completely different route, and it works just fine. And as you were able to see, it's not just the skills that I need for a job. I mean, the whole conversation out in the market is about what skills are needed for a job and what tool should I use and what taxonomy and what framework. And if this is everything we need, this is just scratching the surface. Okay, if you really want to have impact-driven, business impact-driven L&D, now you have to really understand how those skills are grouped together, how we should train those together, what combinations, what are the dependencies, what is, and most importantly, what is really the impact, that the business impact that each one of those skills can kind of help improve, and in which way. There's no, I mean, the skill taxonomy from that perspective won't add anything, towards that goal. And so this is why we went just a completely different route, to be honestly. I have suggested generative AI in professional communication for all of our trainees, regardless of industry. I think it has become a basic marketing skill for front office employees in particular. Yeah, I agree. Let me see if I have left out any question.
I think that was it, but this has been a lovely session, Lefteris. Thank you so much for this. Is there anything else you would like to leave with the audience today before we say our goodbyes?
No, I just want to thank you everyone for staying that long, and especially for those who stayed through all of those sessions. Thank you for hosting us.
Of course. No, this was great. Great interactions, great questions. Thank you so much also for everyone who has stuck around. And thank you so much, Lefteris.
Thank you as well. Bye.
Yes. And so for everyone else, I do want to give a big thank you to all of our dynamic speakers and our sponsors, Adobe, CGS Immersive, ComLab India, Microlearning, and Schoox. So again, all of our sessions are being recorded, and you'll get that in the follow-up email, as well as you can pre-qualify for credit hours by SHRM, HRCI, ISPI, and CPTM. Just send an email to me or anybody on the TI team, and we will send you those codes. Additionally, I would love to meet you all here in Raleigh, North Carolina for our 2025 Training Industry Conference Expo. So TICE is where learning leaders like you gather to forge new professional connections. You learn from each other, you address your most pressing learning challenges, so you can re-energize your learning initiatives at TICE 2025 this June. And additionally, you can learn best practices for developing and delivering successful training initiatives by learning the key processes and frameworks to organize and optimize your training development and delivery efforts with the Training Development and Delivery Certificate. One last reminder that survey will pop open in another tab in your browser, and we would greatly appreciate your feedback. Thank you again for all of you joining me here today. Until next time, I am Liz, and I hope to see you. Have a great week and a great weekend. Bye, everybody.